user.
Hey, how you doing, partner? Man, they're kind of nervous about that. Gentlemen, they're coming out.
What's up, Shotty? Where are the glasses at? Where are they at? They're all gone?
Dude, look right there in front of you.
I'm blind. Oh, I see them. They're on the wall. I have obstructed vision. This isn't fair.
Hey, line me up, guy. Christian! What's supposed to be on your face? They don't protect your eyeballs when they're protecting the hair, if you know what I'm saying.
The hair's more important.
Yeah. Hey, if you need tape measures, guys, in the middle room there's tape measures. You may go grab one to measure stuff. If you need more than what you got there, just let me know. We can cut more. We will be cutting more.
Okay, see you good, bro.
All right, we ready?
Yep.
All right, what does this machine do, remember?
What one is it? I can't see. What is it called?
The jointer. What's it
Oh.
do? What'd you say? Smooths what out? Okay, it's gonna square this piece with this piece, okay? Because if I put this against this fence, this is the bed or the table, this is the fence, okay? Think of it this way, the fence is what goes around people's yards and stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay? So if I go on here, you see how this rocks a little bit? We're going to plane that so it's square, all right? So you're going to run it across. It's going to take about 1/16 of an inch off every time. So when I started on the other side of this piece of wood with them, it was crowned, meaning that the middle was shorter than the outside. So it just took a little bit off each side until we got to the point where we're taking it across the whole thing. If you don't know what it is, you can set it up here like this, and you can see about what you have to do. Everyone see how that piece of wood cuts? What's it look like? Look nice and square? No, there's holes all the way along there, right? It goes. Okay, so we're going to try to fix that. That's what we're going to try to do with this machine. So you turn it on, make sure everybody has safety glasses on their face.
Yeah, guys.
You hold it tight
Safety
to the
first.
back, and you slowly run it through here. You hear how in some spots that they cut it off? Okay? Once it's through, you're going to go do it again.
Wow. That's kind of cool. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Which way am I putting my pressure when I'm pushing through here?
Damn.
To the back, and I'm
Oh.
pushing it down. Not this is
Wow.
enough to hold it firm so it doesn't go flying. Okay? Is it better?
Wow.
No, one more time through.
Wow.
Okay, a couple things. You can hear it hitting those knots. Okay? But for the most part, it's pretty smooth, right? Now, once you square one side, now you got a 90-degree angle. You got to remember what the angle is. Because once you know that angle, now we can set it down, run this side against the fence on our table saw, and every chunk we take out of that now should be square.
No.
Any questions on that?
No, sir.
When you're running this machine, what's the most important things to remember?
Sunglasses.
What? Number one, wear safety glasses. Number two,
Fingers.
fingers away, fingers high is what I call it. Fingers high. Because you don't want them on the bottom board, you want them on top of the board, okay? Which way do you push the board?
Forward.
To the back
Oh,
and
backward.
down. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to show you this. That blade stop. Come on over here and look at this once. This is, if you look here, that is resting on there, and there's a 16th of an inch. This blade's down 16th of an inch. Now, if I rotate this blade through, that's how much that takes off every time those go around, okay?
Okay.
So, don't mess with these. If, for some reason, that gets out of adjustment, it's going to start cutting the back of your wood over here improperly. Last year it was a booger getting this thing back into play because someone went and loosened everything all up and thought they knew what they're doing, messed it all up. It took me probably 3 days, 8-hour days to get adjusted just right because there's shims in here. We had to shim up this whole table on this end. We had to shim up so it's square, so everything runs square. Okay? How much is it taking off at the time?
16.
1/16 of an inch. All right, let's head on over to the table saw for a second. I should back up. Before you start using that, you must turn on the dust button. Must. No exceptions.
Alex, am I still recording? Am I still recording? Hey, is it?
Measure right there.
The red circle?
All right.
Is it recording? Is it recording?
Yeah.
Alright. This
Okay. I measure on this side of the blade and I want it 2 inches. Okay. So from the blade over, it has to be 2 inches. Like I was telling them, when you start picking out your wood for your cutting board, I can make this smaller. I cannot add wood to it. Okay. So a couple pieces in this board are really, really good yet. If we have to have cutting boards that are 12 inches wide by 16 inches long, what parts could I use yet for this cutting board?
the roof.
I can use a lot here yet, right? If I hit this knot, is that going to cut easy or hard?
Hard.
Okay, here. Hey guys, I want you to come over a minute while I go ahead and cut this piece of wood. We're going to try to cut through a knot. My guess is I'm not going to be able to do it, but I want to show you what happens when you try to cut through a knot. Do not do this unless you consult me first. Okay? So you make sure you have, when you cut your piece of wood, you should have about 4 teeth above it. Since this is thicker, the surface area your saw is cutting is less if I go higher because it's a thicker piece of wood. Now if it's narrower piece of wood, you only need to bring it up a little bit because then it's going to cut nice and smooth for you. This is a brand new blade. It should cut very, very well. Knots are harder in both soft and hard wood than what the wood is. Okay? This is black walnut. It is very, very, very hard. Okay? That's why it's so dense. It's heavy. The reason why it's hard is because it takes a long time to grow. Okay, you're going to line up to the back of your fence. You're going to make sure that this is tight. You want to make sure it's close here. A couple things. No one ever stands right behind it. Okay? And you want it so it runs off when we're pushing it forward. All right? Now, you tell me, because all I want you to do is want you to just listen to the saw as I approach that knot. Tell me if you can hear a difference as we get to it. Okay? Because what's going to happen when we get close to this knot? The knot is what type of wood, by the way? It's more dense. So it's already a dense piece of wood. Here, you have a lot of growth points coming right together, and it's very, very, very dense. Very hard. Okay? It's not a race. We want to take our time to cut. Make sure it's staying close to the table. Keep it tight to the fence. Now, did you hear the blade chains going through the knots? Okay? Because that knot is very, very, very tight. Okay? And it cut through it. It didn't burn it. Now, if that blade is starting to get dull, right there, it would have started smoking, and you would have heard the saw really dog down more than it did. Okay? So, I can be in the classroom and I can hear people working out here, and you can tell right now if something's going to go flying. Last year, a kid was cutting his cutting board, and it caught it and it literally flew across the room. He was trying to square it, and he didn't have the height adjusted right, so it didn't cut all the way through, and he wasn't keeping it pushed down. Caught it, flung it across the room. What's that? No. That was Tyler. Tyler, I thought he was going to cut his arm off like 10 times, no lie. Tyler is no longer allowed to be in here. Okay? So I don't care what you already know. I care if you want to do it properly, okay? Now with that said, you can cut it, and it's going to stay very, very smooth if you have a sharp blade. The duller blade you have, the more burrs it's going to leave on the end of your wood. Okay. Any questions on that?
No.
None? All right. Everyone that was checking out your wood, you may continue checking out your wood. That is construction grade pine. I don't know if I'd use that on a cutting board. Okay. It's soft wood. Yeah. Cherry. Walnut.
Ow! I literally have you on recording.
Are you putting this on YouTube as well?
Yeah, why not? Like I said, upload for the YouTube video.
What does this machine do again?
What is it called?
Planes it. So we talked about having
Wow.
home sawed lumber. All the lumber over there is home sawed. Okay, it's going to
Hey,
come
don't hit
in.
me.
That's treated wood. You wouldn't want heat off of that. Okay. It's going to come in. It's going to be rough like this. This saw or this planer is what it's going to do. Is it's going to take off just a little bit at a time and smooth it out. This piece of wood's fairly smooth already, but I'm just going to show you what this does as we go through it. Now, a couple things before we get started. What do we need to remember?
Make sure it's like strong enough or whatever, like held down.
I can't hear you.
Make sure it's held down or whatever,
Held
like
down?
right above it.
Dust what? The dust collector, make sure it's on here and shut down there, okay? All right? Make sure it's adjusted properly.
That's
Okay, so I'm going to come and feed it right here. We got to be able to go right underneath that, okay? So we should be able to easily move. Pull out the black knob, hit the button. I'm going to feed it through, and it should grab it and pull through on its own. Don't ever try pushing it. If it's not going, loosen up or go take your table down. You got too tight. Now, how much do we take the handle up? Remember what I said last time? So from here, what's half?
3.
Half would be to here, and maybe a little bit more, but no more than 3/4. Okay? Now I can flip this over if I want. I can run it through the same way. But all this is going to do is create a nice smooth surface for us to be able to glue together and sand off later. But it pulls it in. That's why it's extremely important that you keep your hands away so you don't get pulled in.
Like Pennywise in Georgie.
Now, with this, there is a minimum height. You can own the minimum height on this is a 1/2 inch. You don't want to put anything through this machine that's less than a 1/2 inch. Otherwise, what's going to happen is the cutter knives are going to hit the table. Okay? And it's going to destroy it. Okay? So, there's that. Feel it turn out pretty smooth compared to the one I just had? Yeah, so if you take a little bit at a time, if you take more, you crank her down, really want to be aggressive, it's not going to be nearly as smooth. Okay? Because it can't eat. Come on over here. All right, over here. This is your miter saw.
What's up, dog? Why you smack me, dog?
This was looked
Why
up
you smack me,
on
dog?
piece of wood was sitting on there. Would you be angry
I don't
at that piece of wood right now? I would be.
I wouldn't
Because
care.
it's not sitting flush against our table. So you got to make sure it's sitting flush against your table. So you got to make sure it's sitting flush, nice and level there. Now with that said, this piece, since I already know what it is, measures at 49 and a half inches. What's half of that?
49 and a half.
What's half of 50?
25 should be.
25. Okay, so we have to be at 24. So we'd have 25 if we take off a 1/4 inch, because if I take half is what? You have 50 cents in your pocket. If I take half of what you got,
25.
25%, right? So if I have 49 and a half divided by 2, I know that 50 divided by 2 is 25, and then take another 1/4 off. 25 minus 1/4 is?
25 divided by what?
25, and 25 minus a 1/4 of an inch is what?
24 and 3/4.
24 and 3/4.
You're dumb.
And for this example, I want the two pieces to be exactly the same, so I'm going to take my line. If I was marking my line, you're going to hold it here. You could also, if you want, you're scared of doing things, make sure it's back all the way, you can clamp it down here. This is called a friction clamp, meaning that you have to either slide it down and lock it, okay, and then turn your knot until it's tighter,